Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Repeateron, and today we're going to be doing a Fallout 3 tier list. Today we're going to be taking a look at all the energy rifles and ranking them according to how good I think that they personally are. Disclosure on this one, just like in all the Fallout videos, Fallout is an open world sandbox game with an adjustable difficulty. There's not really a meta to be followed or anything like that. You can really run with whatever the heck you want and build however you want. This is not to discourage anybody from playing any particular way or any particular weapon. These are just my own opinions. Let's get started now. First up, we've got our laser rifle family here. So our first one is the basic laser rifle, which does decent damage, has a decent rate of fire, holds a lot of shots, has an above average chance to crit, which is good, has good crit damage, and is extremely action point efficient. It's also very accurate. There's really not a downside to the basic laser rifle other than that there's better weapons than it later on. But even so, it's still a pretty solid weapon, and I'd put it up into the high end of B tier, maybe on the low end of A tier. Our next laser rifle is the Wazer rifle. This is the unique version of it that does slightly more damage, has a little bit more DPS, has the same crits, the same action point cost, pretty much the same everything that the basic rifle has, just a little bit better. You can get this by just buying it off of a kid in Little Lamplight who has it. And it's all around stronger than a laser rifle, so I think I'm going to put this one into A tier since I was debating on putting this one between A and B. This one I would say is A because it's a little bit better than the base one, which the base one is already pretty good overall. And then our last one is the Metal Blaster. The Metal Blaster is found in the pit. You have to collect, I believe it's either 50 or 60 ingots to unlock it. And it is, without a doubt, one of the strongest weapons in the game. It's absolutely ridiculous. This counts as a shotgun, shooting out multiple lasers that do fairly low damage, but since it has a higher than average crit chance, and since crits with shotguns are so strong because it counts for every single pellet, or in this case, every single laser that hits, you get crits on every single one of those, making it extremely devastating. It still is really quite accurate for a shotgun. I think it's the most accurate shotgun in the game, and it holds 24 rounds, a 24-round semi-automatic shotgun that can abuse the crit system. And that's just on a laser rifle. Laser rifles are not too particularly hard to find, so repairing this isn't going to be an issue. It doesn't break incredibly fast or anything like that. And this one's definitely S tier. This one is probably my favorite weapon in the game, and probably one of the strongest weapons overall. Then we move on to the alien weapons. First up, we've got the alien Disintegrator. This one does pretty high damage. It has an okay rate of fire. It holds a lot of bullets at 100 rounds, which is pretty awesome. It does have a 2x crit chance, which is good, and it does good crit damage. It's all around pretty strong, and I see no reason not to put it up into A tier. The unique version of it is the Destabilizer, which does less damage, but has a higher rate of fire, but equals out and about the amount of damage per second. But it is a little bit less accurate, and it doesn't hit crits as often. For it being the unique version, I would say that this one is all around worse than the regular version of the Disintegrator. Even though you get 100 rounds with both of them, you're likely never going to be in a fight where you need all 100 rounds. You'll probably reload or switch weapons at some point. So being able to fire this really quick, you're probably not going to run out of all 100 rounds in any sort of fight. I would put this one into B tier. It's okay. It's still pretty good, but it's not better than just the regular version, which is odd. This is one of the few cases where the unique version is worse than the regular version of the weapon. The Gauss rifle is up next. The Gauss rifle does really high damage. There is kind of an issue with the Gauss rifle and its high damage and its high crit chance. It has a 5x crit chance, which is pretty much the max amount of crit chance you can have, with a few exceptions like the alien blasters having 100% crit chance. This one can get very close to 100% crit chance. It's very accurate, and it does really high damage per shot, although it is slow because you do need to reload after every shot. That wouldn't be an issue, but with its crits, it can also trigger the knockdown effect, similar to how the Victory Rifle can, which the knockdown effect usually takes place before the damage is applied, which means that if you're running a crit build, this weapon's actually worse than if you're not running a crit build, because the knockdown effect likely won't kill a lot of enemies so long as they're on level ground. If they're on uneven ground and you can knock them off something, then it will be pretty much an insta-kill. You can do the same thing with the Victory Rifle or with Paralyzing Palms. If you just knock something down, maybe a flight of stairs or just off of a cliff or something, it will usually kill it just because then the gravity engine takes place and kills it that way. It's kind of weird how all these things can work together. That being said, the Gauss rifle is still really fun. There is only one of it, kind of. There's a second that you could get from Anchorage, which is an unbreakable version, which is even better because then you don't need to worry about it breaking. But if you just get the regular version, there is only one version of it, so you cannot fix it unless you're using the alien epoxy or you find somebody who can repair it for you. which overall is kind of annoying for the Gauss rifle, and why I'd probably put it on the high end of B tier, even though statistically it should probably be up into like A tier. If you're counting the one from Anchorage, I would probably put it up into A tier because it is unbreakable then. Next up we got the plasma rifle, and the plasma rifle is quite good. It does high damage, it has a pretty good rate of fire. Its projectile speed is kind of slow, so you have to lead your shots a bit, but you can get used to that. You got a decent amount of shots before you need to reload, and it's pretty accurate. There's really not a downside to the plasma rifle. It's all around a pretty fantastic weapon, and I'd put it up into A tier. The unique version is the A321's plasma rifle. You get this from completing a quest and sighting with Harkness at Rivet City. He'll give you this, and it's all around better than a regular plasma rifle, dealing more damage per second, being just as accurate, holding just as many shots, having a higher critical hit chance of 2.5 times, which is really good, and dealing good crit damage. It's also pretty action point efficient, so this one is probably also on the very high side of A tier. It's all around a really solid weapon and something that I usually like to get whenever I play and grab this early on. The Tesla cannon, I remember being better than it was the last time that I played. I remember really liking the Tesla cannon. Maybe that's because I usually played on the normal difficulty when I was playing this game on console years ago. When I played it on the very hard difficulty, this weapon was pretty lackluster, I would say. It was good for killing regular enemies, and it was good for killing vertibirds, but that was about it. Other than that, it took too many shots to kill any large things. Its damage over time wasn't that great. Its strike damage is okay, but needing to reload every time, it's like the Gauss rifle, so it's not fast to kill really anything. It does have higher than average crit chance, which is nice, although its crit damage is just kind of okay. It's not really fantastic. There is also just one Tesla cannon, as far as I'm aware. Maybe there's another one, I can't remember, but you don't get this until pretty much the end of Broken Steel, so you're likely at the very end of the game, unless you save the other DLCs to go to afterwards, so you don't get to use it all that much. And I'd put this one, honestly, in C tier. It was kind of just meh to me. Last up is the TriBeam Laser Rifle, which is carried by the Super Mutant Overlords, which is terrifying when they have it, and pretty underwhelming whenever you have it, at least in my experience. This does hold 24 rounds, just like a regular laser rifle, but it takes up 3 shots every time you shoot it, so you actually only get 8 shots in total, which is still pretty good for a shotgun. It does high damage per shot. Its crits are not affected by the shotgun mechanic though, so its crits are not as good as something like the Metal Blaster, where the Metal Blaster would get a crit on every single laser hit. This one gets a crit just spread across all of them, and it has less crit damage than you would think overall. It's still good for damage per second. It still does reasonably well against pretty much everything. It's not the most accurate, but it's still fairly accurate for a shotgun. I'd probably put this one probably up here in A tier. It's also really good, but I wouldn't say that it's nearly as good as the Metal Blaster is, or even as good as the plasma rifles really are. Maybe better than the base plasma rifle, but that's kind of debatable. So this is where I'd put all of the energy weapon rifles. No D tiers here. I don't think any of them are really that bad. Most of them are actually quite good and pretty viable all throughout the game, so that's nice to see. Next time we're going to be looking at big guns, and I still have to go over explosives as well as unarmed and melee. We'll also be going over some other Fallout 3 related tier list too. So hopefully you guys are enjoying these, and be sure to get subscribed. That way you get notifications whenever I post these videos. Special thanks to my members over here on YouTube and my patrons over on Patreon. These are all my supporters. If you'd like to be a part of that, then be sure to go down into the description. There are links down there that you can follow that will take you to these places. You get early access to videos such as these, and if you'd like to see more of my Fallout 3 related tier lists, be sure to click over here. That should take you to a full playlist of them. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!